on the road. Knock it off. Now, okay, so last time we met, we talked about the Articles of Confederation, the failure of the Articles of Confederation, Shays' Rebellion, yes? And the response to that by people like Jefferson, James Madison, and George Washington, okay, and some of the letters that we read about from those individuals to and from, okay? So, guys, Hamilton and Madison are actually going to meet in Annapolis, Maryland, prior to the Constitutional Convention. And the discussion is, do we need to fix the Articles of Confederation, or do we need to just scrap them and start over? And that decision is made, that they would scrap and start over, okay? So the Constitutional Convention is going to run May 25th to September 17th, 1787. Now that date, September 17th, is significant because today we call that, anyone? Constitution Day. Okay? That's the day where the delegates agreed on this new Constitution. Now, that doesn't mean it is, because it's still got to be ratified by the states. Okay? And that topics, we can talk about that later this week. Okay? So, what we have here, guys, is 55 delegates from the 13 states. So some states are going to have more delegates than others. It doesn't really matter because each state gets one vote. Does that make sense? Okay? And you're going to need 9 votes to pass anything. Now, these notes up here just kind of be helpful. Maybe fill in a few gaps as I get into some details on this, okay? So, all of the founding fathers that are at this convention, which is in Independence Hall, same place they met for the Declaration, 31 of the 55 attended college. They were all wealthy, except for one. There was one guy that wasn't so wealthy. He was a farmer. You don't need to know this for the test, but his name was William Few, F-E-W, William Few. Okay. So, no.
Why was he there?
He was invited.
What state was he representing?
Yeah, I don't know.
I legitimately want to know.
No, what's
Look him up.
What state was he representing?
What's his name so I can write him down?
F-E-W, William Few.
Bill.
They were all either lawyers or rich landowners. Okay? Or a farmer. Okay? Now, if you look at this, guys, 8 of them had signed the Declaration of Independence. And you might just kind of say, like, only 8. Okay? Because a lot of these guys have gone on to do other things. Okay? 7 had been at the First Continental Congress, and 7 of them were governors of their states. Okay, that's pretty significant when you send your governor. Yeah.
Were any all 3?
Yeah, I don't know. So they all believed, guys, in, that we needed a new social contract. Okay, that, like Locke said, enter back into a state of nature temporarily, and we are going to write a new constitution. Okay? Now, they all had different ideas about what would work best. All right? Now, and that's what the debate is going to really fill. They all believed in democracy, but did not feel that we should be totally a democratic nation. Okay? They believed in representative government, representative democracy. Okay? As you're going to see, there's not a lot of guys really pushing for true democracy. Now, when they set this up, okay, the key here, guys, is that they're going to go from a very weak central government in the Articles of Confederation, right? Remember how weak? They couldn't tax, they couldn't enforce their own decisions, and so forth. Okay, so what we're going to get with this new Constitution is a strong central government. We are going from a confederal system to a federal system. Braden, what is federalism? Braden, Howell, what is federalism?
Refresh my mind.
Carpenter, sharing and division of power between national, state, and local. So you're giving more power to the national government than you had under the Articles of Confederation. Got that? So when this is said that we're going to have a stronger national government, what does that mean? Well, that's scary to some people. They're like, I don't think I like this. Handing this power to a small group of people. Okay, so what they're going to do with this Constitution is they're going to block vice with vice. In a political science way, what would you say we call that? Blocking vice with vice. One group of people wants to do something, the other group wants to do something else, and they're going to block it. What do we call that? Yeah, checks and balances. Okay, what they're creating here, guys, so that this strong central government does not become too powerful, they're creating a system of mutual frustration. There's a colleague of mine that teaches government that says, I wish they would just get some stuff done in Washington. I wish they would just pass some bills and fix things. Well, guys, if it was easy to pass laws, would we have more of them? Yes. Now, laws are generally restrictions on what?
Us.
Freedom. Us. So do you want more laws? Do you want it easy for Congress to come up with ideas and say, let's pass a law? There ought to be a law against, let's say, hate speech. There ought to be a law against hate speech in America. Because too many people are saying mean things and people's feelings are getting hurt. And we need a law to protect people's feelings.
Sound like Will Ferrell.
Get over it. Listen, guys, this is the way it was designed. Gridlock. Bottleneck. Come up with the adjective. Okay? Gridlock is how they designed it. We've had 2 government shutdowns in the last 3 weeks.
Was it shut down again?
It shut down for like 5.5 hours last week.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, overnight. And then they passed a 2-year budget deal. And guess what they're going to do?
Shut down.
Trump got what he wanted. He got more military spending. Democrats got what they wanted, more spending. Period.
$300 billion more spending.
And what's going to happen to the debt?
It's going to go up.
It's going to keep going up.
Reduce revenue by our tax cuts.
No, I think we're going to see increased revenue.
I hope so. But
Yeah, I
right
do too.
Now
So did Brownback.
Yeah. So did Brown.
Right? Yeah.
Do you watch Shapiro's podcast over that?
Who's?
Shapiro's podcast over that?
I over the budget bill? No.
Yeah, I did. And that's where I...
Yeah, I did, so I'm an expert.
That's what I...
No,
don't worry.
Hey, don't give the guy crap for watching stuff about what we're talking about. Props to the man.
Put it that way.
What?
Well, it means that sounds familiar. You said it's probably going to go up like a solid $1 trillion from that, and we're going to be spending just as much, if not more, than Obama's administration.
Yeah. We could see $1 trillion deficit. And then Trump was tweeting about infrastructure this morning. $1.5 trillion in infrastructure.
They didn't solve DACA, did they?
And no, that's March.
They pushed it back further. You just extended it.
Well, yeah, and that's all he has to do again is extend it. I mean, it's arbitrary. It's just made up. Obama made it up.
Whatever he decides to do.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, DACA is, what's it called? Deferred action. Well, we'll just defer action some more. Seriously, that's what they're going to end up doing. Silly. Okay, but that's the way it's designed. Okay? So it bothers me when people, I just wish they'd pass something. What? Okay, sorry. Now, a little bit more here on the membership here of who shows up for this meeting. Notables that are present at the Constitutional Convention. Franklin is there. He's still alive. Okay?
Oh, he's real old.
He's in his late 70s, I believe, by this time, which is far beyond the life expectancy. Washington is there. And then kind of a newcomer on the scene, this bastard child from the Virgin Islands, Hamilton. Okay. That's right. I said that aloud. Now, who's not there? This is significant. This is significant. Hey, Jack, where's Jefferson?
He's in France.
He's in France. Okay. Now, why is this significant? Because when people talk about our Constitution, a lot of times people like to talk about Jefferson. Okay. Well, Jefferson wasn't there. He wrote the Declaration, not the Constitution. Okay. So let's check with somebody else besides Jefferson. All right. I know that's harsh. Okay. Now, Patrick Henry, give me liberty, from Virginia, does not show. He would have been invited had he wanted to go. But he doesn't like the whole idea, period, of doing away with the Articles of Confederation. Because this guy, Patrick Henry, is very much opposed to strong central government. So Patrick Henry is going to become one of the loudest opponents of this new Constitution. Or in other words, we'll end up calling them anti-federalists. Okay? Now, Washington is going to be put in charge. He's going to become the chair or the president of the Constitutional Convention. Now, what Washington brings here is gravitas. You guys know gravitas? Maryville? You know what gravitas is? Weed?
No, gravitas is.
Christo? Gravitas? Gravity is the root. Okay? What you got?
It's just like the weight and influence you can toss around.
Yeah, I mean, Washington walks in the room. He's the most popular. He's almost like a godlike figure in the New World. Okay, but listen, this term gravitas. Okay, I never heard of that before. Most Americans never heard of gravitas until George W. Bush announced his running mate, vice presidential running mate, Dick Cheney. Okay, and Dick Cheney had been chief of staff for President Reagan. He had served in the House. He had served in the cabinet. This guy had a lot of experience. So, watching TV, I don't know who the first was to do it, but there was some talking head on television, commentator, says Dick Cheney brings gravitas to the ticket. About 30 minutes later on another channel, another talking head, Cheney brings gravitas. And then by the next day, all the newspapers and all the TV shows were saying this word, gravitas, that nobody had ever heard before. And then Saturday Night Live got on their gravitas. Okay, and did a spoof on it. Because everybody was saying it. Because this one person said it. Now I'm still saying it. Okay? Because Washington is kind of the definition of gravitas. Okay? So, what does that mean? Guys, that means that this convention has weight. It has meaning. Okay, because Washington's there. Now, Madison is going to get the moniker father of the Constitution, and that's, as I've talked to you about before, he's the most prepared going in. He's going to bring a plan. What state is he from?
Virginia.
He's from Virginia, and he's going to bring with him what plan? The Virginia plan. Now, I'm going to introduce the Virginia plan to you here in just a second. Different, more specific form of government. Okay, a constitution. Okay, and he's going to take notes during the convention. Okay, and it's those notes that help us to know what was said during the convention. So, very important figure during the convention, James Madison. All right, so this is his handwriting, and this is the Virginia plan. That's not the full text of it. It's longer than that. Okay, and we're going to kind of break down the Virginia plan and its competing plan, which is what? The New Jersey plan. Okay, and the resulting compromise. Not just any compromise,
The great compromise.
but the great compromise. Okay, now I know you've studied this all before in some level of depth or not. Okay, but we're going to hit it pretty in depth, and then you're going to have to explain it to me on the test. These two plans and the resulting compromise.
For me to answer?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah. Weed, you got your brother's notes? Yeah, you do. Whose notes do you have? Okay.
He didn't take notes all the time. He does that.
Why did he not take notes all the time? Okay, you guys are going to become YouTube stars. All right. So, you got two competing rival plans. Okay? One thing we always got to remember is this scares some people. Okay? And so, as they're sitting in this room, there's fear of this strong central government. By some. Some want a strong central government, especially people like Hamilton. Okay? Now, Madison and his fellow Virginians. Now, this is actually going to be introduced by Edmund Randolph. So Madison can kind of sit back and watch people's reaction to it, this plan. Okay? And what it calls for is a strong central government, a bicameral legislature, which everybody knows what that is. Two chambers, right? And three branches. So an executive and a judiciary. So three-branch government with a bicameral legislature. Does that kind of sound like what we have today? Yeah. Okay, so this is part of the framework of what we're doing. Okay. Now let's get into the details. Devil's in the details. Okay, so the legislature is going to be based on the population of the states. So states with more people, like Virginia, Pennsylvania, they get more seats in the legislature. And both of these chambers are going to be based on population. So these are some of the larger populated states: Virginia, Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, Maryland. I'll show you on one of the slides. I have the census of 1790 that'll show you exactly how many people lived in these states. So the people, this is democratic, right? The people elect the first house. Then that house elects state nominees for the second house. That's representative. Okay? So you have some democratic here. That's the extent of the democracy here, by the way. Okay? Members of the executive, so your executive is going to be elected not by the people, but by the legislature. As is the judiciary going to be elected by the legislature. Now this is different than what we have. If the legislature is electing the executive, we call that what type of system? Parliamentary. something everybody understands, right? We went over that. Okay. Now, what powers are they going to have under this new Constitution, the government? They're going to be able to levy taxes, right? That's something that they didn't have under the House. Or excuse me, under the Articles of Confederation. They're going to be able to make laws for the whole nation. Warning, national government making laws for the whole country. Warning, and regulate trade. This is going to be a roadblock for some to say yes to this plan. These national laws. So there we are. We've got this Virginia plan on the table. There is going to be resistance to this, and so what we're going to get is a competing plan. When you're ready, we'll get the New Jersey plan, New Jersey plan. So tomorrow, 8:55. Tomorrow, Pride Day close.
When does that start?
8:55.
They're going Pride Day, not community?
Yeah, Pride Day.
They don't want us to wear our same shirts over here.
Whoa.
Yeah, like I can see
We brought that up to
4 of your shirts today, right now.
Hold on a minute.
You guys gray?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a light blue.
I guess I can see 1, 2, 3, 4. I can see your shirt 5, 6. Well, no, I'm just saying. You don't have to get mad.
I don't get the point of making us take off our
chilly.
sweatshirts, especially if they're like
Aren't they doing sweatshirts next year?
I think they should do sweatshirts and long sleeve shirts next year.
All big time.
Austin Myrna.
I just have a question on tomorrow. For the senior faculty game,
Yes.
are we going to be able to sit with our grade, or are they going to make us sit with our communities?
With the SmackDown. That would make no sense if
John.
juniors didn't sit with the seniors.
Well, I think seniors should probably sit together.
Yeah, John's percent
Let's just
without
do it anyway.
babysitting.
Like as soon as we should. I'm not even kidding.
Um,
Are you fine? That reminded me of the state. I got shot.
It's okay.
Our average
I don't need to hurt an ankle.
Our average height is like 6'3".
Wow. Glad I'm not playing. Playing in the basketball.
Oh yeah, she's playing.
Okay,
We didn't do it yet though.
New Jersey. All right, real quick here. This is going to be New Jersey plan. Kind of represents the smaller states here. Okay, this is a point that I need you to get. States fearing they're going to lose too much power to the central government. Okay, so they call for a 3-branch government. Okay, however, power to tax, power to regulate trade. What's missing here?
Wait, question. Laws.
Yeah, you can't make national laws. Go.
On the Virginia plan, did you say that was parliamentary?
With the legislature electing the executive, yes.
Okay.
So, this 3-branch government, it looks a little bit like the Articles, but it's not, okay? They want states to have a stronger role here. Now, this is important that we have this plan, competing against the Virginia plan. What would this country look like? Hey, hang on a second. Let's go back to this.
Trump would not be president.
Listen, what would this country look like today where states like Kansas, small states, North Dakota, Alaska, when all representation is based on population, the states have absolutely no say.
Those disgusting commies in California.
So Kansas can't compete with California because Kansas only has a couple legislatures where California has dozens. So there's really no protection for the states in this Virginia plan. Okay? This is where the New Jersey plan comes in, guys. There is protection for the states. Not just any state, but small states. Okay? So today in the United States Senate, guys, we have the same say in Kansas as does California. And it's because of these people standing up and fighting against the Virginia plan. Okay? Stronger role in the national government, unicameral legislature, one body, one vote apiece. So again, we have 13 members of the legislature. But now we're going to have an executive and a judicial branch with the New Jersey plan. The executive, this is not in these notes up here, the executive is chosen by the legislature. So the New Jersey plan is also parliamentary. And the judiciary would be one supreme tribunal under the New Jersey plan, which is similar to the Virginia. Okay? So guys, what we're saying here. Now this isn't even democratic. Okay? At the national level, it is not democratic. These representatives for this one unicameral house selected by state legislatures, not by the people. So you have these two plans. How many votes do you have to pass one of them? 9. 9 is the magic number. Okay? They're going to vote in June on these two plans. Drum roll. 7 for Virginia, 3 for New Jersey, and 3 with no vote, or they'll abstain courteously, and or they're split, and they can't make a decision on the fence. Need 9. Got to go back to work. So they're going to debate these two plans for a whole another month until they come up with the Great Compromise. The Great Compromise. Are you going to be writing about the Great Compromise on the test? Are you going to need to mention a little bit about what's in the Virginia plan? And the New Jersey plan? Yes. Myrna, you're making a funny face over there. Well, there's lots of room up in front of you. I know you want to be back there with the cool kids.
Cool kids can see.
Huh? Are you done?
Do you think we need to talk about the exact votes that they didn't
I mean, you could mention it. Yeah. Obviously, because we need a compromise. Right?
In the Virginia plan, people elect the legislature.
One house. People elect the first house.
Hold on. Let me make sure I got that.
I'm sure you got it.
It was in black and white.
You got it? You got it?
Got it.
You got it.
Moving on. Now, the great state of Connecticut comes up with this plan. So you could call it the Great Compromise or Connecticut Plan Compromise. Okay? July 16, 1787. What a great day. We're going to settle on the legislature here. And what we're going to get is a bicameral legislature. The House of Representatives being elected by the people based on population. The Senate, we get 2 senators for each state, and those would be elected by the state legislatures. Yes? That's what I was going to ask. Is this what we have today?
Well, I know that's
Jack, it really affects my class
Yeah.
when you know the answers and I can't ask the question.
Back here today. She said I just really like it really smart because I do meetings for federal.
She does?
That's what she told me.
It's good stuff. Go ask your dad. Go ask your old man. Hey, Dad, do you know what federalism is? I do. You want me to explain it to you? Maybe by the test. Okay. What we don't have here today is this right here. Today, our senators are not elected by state legislatures. They're elected by the people. Because back at the beginning of the 20th century, they said, you know what? We need to be more democratic.
Wait, when did they say this?
This is during the progressive era in the early part of the 20th century.
Oh, so this didn't change till like 1900.
Yeah, like with Woodrow Wilson and them. Yeah, progressives. Yeah. And I'm going to explain to you, Tristan, why we need to repeal the 17th Amendment. Okay? Because today, guys, you should know this. Braden. Today, we get to elect our senators. Did we do this the other day? No. Okay, listen. Don't say it out loud. Don't say it out loud. How many of you guys can name the 2 senators from the state of Kansas? No! Raise your hand if you think you can do that. Let me just get the camera on you guys.
The senators or
Follow
the
me!
reps?
Oh, this is like stuff.
What are you doing?
What are you doing?
Swivel.
Okay, I got 2 hands. Oh, we got 2.5.
Just wait a minute.
All right, so the people now get to elect our senators, but the people don't even know who our senators are.
Makes sense.
Pat Roberts and Jerry Moran. Okay? Stole your thunder, John, guys. Okay? Now, follow me. Now, I am an advocate for repealing the 17th, but also the 16th Amendment.
Repeal all the amendments. We don't need them.
No rights.
Now check me right here. Listen, please. This is a passion of mine. This is why I'm going to Topeka Wednesday. Okay? So listen. The 16th Amendment is the income tax. Okay? Now, prior to the 20th century, when the federal government could tax, because we know it could, because the Constitution has it now, they can tax. They would tax the states based on their population. Okay? So states with more people are going to pay more taxes. So the states collect taxes from the people, and then the federal government collects taxes from the states based on their population. The 16th Amendment changes this, and it becomes direct taxation of the individual by the federal government. Well, listen. What that does is it takes out the middleman. Who's the middleman? The state. Okay, here we go again. The 17th Amendment, direct election of senators, takes away the middleman, the state legislature, who used to elect the senators.
Why is it
even do now?
Why would the state legislature be better than having people elected?
Because people generally in society don't pay attention.
I mean, by that same standard, that people pay attention to the state legislatures.
Right.
Who are then voting very important senators.
We have to give people the feeling that they live in a democratic society. So we got to let people elect somebody, right?
Or are you suggesting that we don't? We shouldn't?
I'm just saying, like,
The illusion needs to be
that's
there.
because people don't know. Like, I guarantee you, a lot of people don't know their own representative.
Oh, you're right. You're right. No.
I'm saying it's like,
Okay, so let me add something to the point.
I don't think it's good enough.
Okay, so with the state legislatures electing the Senate, okay, they can give directives to Moran and Roberts. This body was created to protect states. I mean, that's the whole reason why they have it, is to protect small states from big states and protect states in general, to protect federalism. Okay, so the state legislature gives directives to them. So if the state legislature says to Roberts and Moran, listen, you guys need to get that budget under control in Washington, D.C. You're spending too much money. Now think about if you didn't have this, and you didn't have this, okay? So the federal government taxes the states. Do you think we'd have a $20 trillion debt if the government was taxing the states instead of the individual?
I don't know. Kansas is in a lot of debt right now.
That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the federal level. Listen. So, okay, let's say they're going to charge the state of Kansas $22 billion, okay? Just a random number, okay? The state legislature has to send that money to Washington. Your state legislature, okay, they live in your neighborhood. Okay? They are close to you. So when people complain to the state legislatures about what's happening in the federal government, they have some control over that. Right now, the state legislatures have no control over what the federal government does or doesn't do. Zero. So if you got 26 states to say to the federal government, or you got more than half of the senators told by their states, balance the budget, or we're not sending you back to Washington.
I get what you're saying.
I mean,
You're saying that by taking away the power to vote, the people's power to vote in the Senate, we're thereby bringing the power closer to us.
Yeah.
However, I mean, if people were educated, which they aren't, they would be able to make this decision on their own.
Right.
And since people aren't educated, why would their state legislators?
Okay, so it's like this. It's like this. Okay, people are easily duped, right? So, guys, every election year, Pat Roberts becomes a conservative. Jerry Moran becomes a conservative. And then as soon as the election's over, they go back to being, moderate Republicans that are likely to vote for spending and raising the national debt and whatever else that doesn't cause anybody any pain. They're all for that. They don't want to cause pain because what? They want to get reelected. And then they run as conservatives. And they're full of crap. Okay, so the state senators or the state legislature can read that. Say, look, man, we're paying attention to what you're doing in Washington. Okay, we're not sending you back. Okay, I just think that it is a check, another additional check on keeping the federal system. Whereas you do away with the middleman, which is the state, then you start running into problems. And problems we have.
You can jive with that.
That's my way. I want people to be able to have a say, of course, but this has gotten out of control.
Federal government directs
How many of you guys have ever written a check to pay your taxes? Do you think taxpayers would want to know where their money's being spent if you had to write a check every month to pay your taxes?
Probably.
I think people would start paying attention. But we never see the money.
Do we not know where it's going?
people just don't pay attention,
Okay,
Jack.
it's people don't pay attention.
But if you had to write that check every month, because right now we never even see the money. We never even possess the money. It comes out of our check. Think about that, Jack. If you had $300, $400, $500 more in your check that went into your account, and then you say, oh, I got to write this check. And you're like, $400? Okay, where the hell is this money going?
No, I think people would care
Well,
a
go to
lot more
Kellogg.
if they had to. I mean, it's the same idea where when you pay for something in cash versus with a card, the card's just that's just invisible money. But if you're paying it in cash, you can see exactly how much money you're spending.
Yeah, that's so true.
Invisible money.
I mean,
That's like, it's a really good way to do your budget is to pay for everything in cash. And you'll really start paying attention to what you're doing with
you
your
know
money.
exactly what you're spending.
Yeah.
Is there a way to
I'm
pay your
really
taxes
bad
that
about
way?
that.
Can you pay your taxes
I
like
use my
that?
credit card for everything.
So,
Ooh.
you get it all paid back?
Oh, I pay it off every month.
What's the last thing you
That
bought?
way you don't
Yeah,
have
as long
pennies
as
in
you
your
can.
Amazon shoelaces, right? Does that ever come in?
Yeah, I did that, but I used my credit card yesterday for gas.
Mandatory minimum.
What's your credit score, Mr.
You always pay off the full amount.
What's your credit
Keep
score?
all my money
Oh,
in
my
the
credit
vault.
score is outstanding.
It's outstanding. Is it an 8?
I've been
Oh, yeah.
known to fail.
Oh, yeah?
It is
Higher than my wife's.
Oh, well that's
I
typical.
keep all
Do you
my
like
money.
830? 832, I think.
Someone
You're on
comes
fire,
around.
Mr. Reed.
Huh?
You're on fire.
I'm
Yeah.
also carrying
A great credit. I can go borrow money, all the money I want.
Take it, boy.
All right.
Get a Lamborghini.
All right, so next slide. How much time we got?
Not enough.
Not yet. Just say not enough.
Yeah, we do. Maribel, how much time do we have?
I was thinking important.
All right, listen up. Guys, this is not part of the Great Compromise. Okay, there's nothing great about this. You understand? Okay, now I know that you've learned about this previously, and this is the three-fifths compromise. Okay?
Pretty bad.
So, guys, now that they've figured out how they're going to do the legislature, there's a bundle of other compromises. Like, how are we going to elect our president?
Wait,
What?
I'm not trying to be like this, but on the last slide you had the populations up. Was that including
Slaves.
Was that including slaves or was that with the 3/5
This is with the three-fifths.
Dang.
And it all evened out. There wasn't a single 3/5 hanging out. They're all straight.
We're not doing percentages. All right.
There's no
They shipped them out. They wanted their own money.
All right, so here's the deal, guys. We've got several other issues to hash out here. Okay? Now, Jack, I need you to stop.
Okay.
Okay? All right, so this is a nasty business right here, guys. What we're doing is trying to write a new constitution. And one of the issues facing the men in the room is slavery. Now, as this slide says, guys, some northern states had already abolished slavery. All right? And many in the north disagreed with the people in the south and the institution of slavery itself. Now, I wouldn't say the north is as abolitionist as they were on the eve of the Civil War. But there is a lot of people in the north that want to do away with this institution. There are a lot of men in the room at the convention that want to do away with this institution. But the problem is you got to have 9 states to do this. Okay? It's kind of like what Franklin said with the Declaration of Independence. When they were trying to agree to the Declaration, there were people that wanted slavery addressed in the Declaration, and the southern states didn't want it. John Adams was one of those that was really strongly against slavery. But Franklin told him, he said this basically, the issue here isn't slavery, the issue is independence. Okay? Now, the issue here is creating a new constitution. Now that's it's easy to criticize these guys. Okay? And a lot of historians, especially today, love to bash on the founding fathers here. Okay? Tristan, if you need to step outside for a minute, you can. Okay? But I'm going to try and have a little bit of a serious conversation here. So what we have is going to become a compromise. But what you're compromising, guys, is humanity. And so in many ways, this is kind of a sad statement. I was watching the news recently, and I saw a study about what American school children understand about the institution of slavery. And it was kind of shocking what kids didn't know about slavery. And so I thought I would bring it up a little bit at least. I know this is a government class, but guys, the institution of slavery in this country could be extremely harsh. So you would have, it's all basically incumbent on the slave master, the owner, okay, and how they wanted to treat their slaves. First of all, people are sold as commodities, not as human beings. And so if your commodity wasn't behaving the way you wanted it to, you could do whatever you want to that commodity. So you could rape it, you could beat it with whips, you could punish, put them in chains. You could treat them as harshly as you wanted. There were no rules about how you treated other human beings. And so in many cases it was very brutal and harsh. Were there nice slave masters that treated their slaves kindly? Sure. Were there black slave owners? Yeah. Were there free black men? Yes. I mean, there's a lot of history here. But the institution itself allowed for extremely awful treatment of other human beings. Okay? And so you can see why some in the North really wanted to do away with this. But the South wanted those slaves to count as population. So they would have more what? More representation in Congress. Okay? Now, they're also going to have to pay more in taxes if you count them as population. But the North said countered, well, you don't give them legal rights, you treat them as property. But here's the matter. Are we going to get a new constitution? Are we going to get 9 votes if there's no compromise on slavery here? No, you're not. So do you want to blame Ben Franklin for that? Do you want to blame Adams? Do you want to blame Madison, Washington, Hamilton? Do you want to take Washington's name off the Capitol because he was a slave owner? You want to take Jefferson's memorial down because he was a slave owner? It's an abomination, right? I mean, I think everybody agrees with that. Slavery is an abomination. Okay? Were there other countries that had slavery?
Yes.
Name a country.
Had slavery. Just England.
In Africa today, do they have slavery? Yes.
Different kind.
Aren't there more slaves now than ever?
In India, there's slavery still. I don't know if that would be the case. I know you kind of treat women as slaves in some Middle Eastern countries. ISIS had slaves. Name a country
That currently has slaves or did have
and
slaves?
throughout history that hasn't had slaves.
Oh, that hasn't had
Yeah.
slaves?
Eritrea.
Iceland.
Wait.
Iceland never had slaves?
I don't think so.
I don't know.
They have.
Well, I mean, there's probably some Vikings sitting around there holding slaves on Iceland.
Maybe.
I think Greenland didn't really have much people.
Maybe the Inuit people they enslaved. I'm not sure though.
Native Americans.
Native Americans have slaves?
Yeah.
In wars when they capture other people.
Yeah, when they captured whites, they held them as slaves.
I'm sure everyone.
Probably
has
depending on
slaves.
the tribe.
All right, we need to talk about that some more.